told your friend you're not okay.
K-pop Update is back with news you can't miss. If you think you've seen Taehyung perform at his best, get ready, because what happened that night wasn't just a performance. It was a moment that broke the boundaries of logic. The atmosphere of the venue hung in the air from the start, like a cloud of energy ready to explode. No one knew what to expect, but everyone felt it. A subtle vibration that crept from the stage, slipped under their skin, settled in their chests, and made their breathing feel a little heavier. The lights slowly dimmed, one by one, as if inviting the entire audience to take a deep breath and prepare for something they'd never seen before. As complete darkness took over, small whispers began to be heard from various corners. Not cheers, not screams, just soft voices calling his name. And from those whispers, a wave of emotion built that made their heartbeats feel unsteady. Then the first beat of Hooligan hit the air. In an instant, the atmosphere changed as if someone had flipped a switch that opened a door to another world. A spotlight shone on the center of the stage. There, Taehyung stood motionless, but his aura seemed to dominate a space far larger than the stage itself. His face wasn't wearing the sweet smile that usually made fans melt. His gaze was sharp, cold, and deep, like someone who had just stepped out of a character formed from shadows, anger, and ambition. And as the music began to build a rhythm, his body finally moved. That first movement wasn't exaggerated, but it struck a chord in the chest of anyone who saw it. There was a firmness in every angle of his arms, a precision in every step, but most striking was a wild aura that seemed controlled by an invisible force. It was as if he was dancing not to the beat, but by instinct. Army screams began to rise. At first, controlled, they soon turned into a massive wave that engulfed the entire room. They weren't seeing the usually gentle and elegant Taehyung. They were witnessing the manifestation of a dark side that rarely surfaced. A side that was bold, intense, and emotionally dangerous. Verse after verse built up the atmosphere. Every detail of his body spoke volumes. His fingers tapping firmly in the air, his shoulders moving in sync with the beat, his head tilting slightly as if he were seeing the world from a perspective only he understood. There was no wasted movement. They were all like puzzle pieces designed to form one grand narrative, one you can only understand if you see with your heart, not your eyes. Then, the first chorus approached like a storm. All the energy he'd been holding back since the beginning was released in one burst. His movements became faster, more aggressive, wilder, yet still precise, as if chaos itself were obeying his command. A small smile appeared momentarily amidst the intensity, a smile not of gentleness, but of the satisfaction of someone immersed in the art he'd mastered. The camera followed his every move, but still, footage couldn't fully capture what those in the venue felt. There was something only the eyes of those who witnessed it could capture. The vibration of the air, the emotional tension, and the energy that crept from the stage down the spine. And then came the moment that made the entire room explode. The music dropped, the atmosphere slowed, and Taehyung stopped completely. He was silent, just staring. He lifted his face slowly and let his eyes sweep across the sea of army. That gaze wasn't just looking, it was selecting, finding, locking. And in that brief second, everyone felt like he was staring directly into them. That moment shattered everyone's composure. Screams erupted without restraint. No one cared about their own voices, just a spontaneous reaction to the unbearable intensity. When the music hit full force again, he moved again. Faster, wilder, more unpredictable. His body twisted, dived, and jerked, as if he were summoning a storm and grasping its center with his own hands. But not once did his movements stray from the beat. Every detail remained clean, still powerful, still as if he were ruling the world, not the other way around. Toward the end of the song, something greater began to take shape. Not just a dance, but a transformation. Sweat began to show. His breathing became heavier, but he showed no sign of backing down. Quite the contrary, the closer he got to the end, the deeper he sank into the character he was developing. At this point, the audience no longer felt like they were watching a performance. They felt like they were witnessing pure art brought to life by the human body. As the final verse came, the music began to soften, but not to dampen the energy, but to encapsulate everything in one final emotion. Taehyung made one final movement, simple yet poignant, like the final line on a masterpiece. The music stopped, the lights dimmed, there was no sound. 1 second, silence. It was as if the world stopped breathing. Then the explosion came. ARMY screamed louder than ever. Screams filled with hysteria, awe, and disbelief. Many covered their faces. Many jumped. Many cried uncontrollably. Because what they saw that night wasn't just a performance. It was one of those rare moments that will never be exactly the same again. A moment that lingers in the memory longer than the song itself. And perhaps this is Taehyung's true power. He didn't just dance. He led the emotions. He united thousands of people in a shared emotion. He created an experience that didn't end when the music stopped, but lived on in the memories of anyone who witnessed it. If you close your eyes now, what do you remember? The pounding music? ARMY screams? Those piercing stares? Or the feeling that you've just witnessed something that can't be described in mere words? Some performances don't just end. They stay. They linger. They become a part of whoever sees them. And that Hooligan night was one of them. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next story from K-Pop Update.